and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight we got some good tea for you. We're joined by political commentator Stephanie Hamill, as well as the host of Underreported Stories with Chrissy Clark. Of course, Chrissy Clark. Ladies, welcome to the show. Let's start at the top. And Chrissy, I'm going to go straight to you on this because you were, I guess you technically still are Canadian, although we know you love the free United States of America. You love this country. But as a Canadian citizen and someone who's born in Canada, give me your thoughts and maybe what you've heard from people in Canada after the announcement from Justin Trudeau that he will be resigning.
Well, I just saw the movie Wicked, and they start the whole movie off, spoiler alert, by announcing that the Wicked Witch is dead. And I felt the same way waking up this morning hearing that Justin Trudeau had resigned.
Oh my
Finally.
gosh.
I mean, it's just really sad. This morning I was having a conversation with my cousin about it. He's a year older than I. He's 28 years old. And the way it is so difficult to get ahead in that country, just so close, it's not that far away from us, but the vast difference in the way the economy is run and the way that they've let immigrants come in, steal people's jobs and make it more difficult to live, more dangerous all around. Nothing that has been happening in the government has been to the benefit of the Canadian citizens. And I'm really hopeful that there will be some change. We've had to see a major shift towards conservatism in America as well. And so I'm hopeful that what we're seeing in America is, kind of drifting upwards to our Canadian cousins.
But I think that actually is true. And that happens, Chrissy. So my cousin is married to a guy who was from Canada. And over Christmas, we were at my parents' house and he was there. His mom was there, who was visiting from Canada, who still lives there now. Yeah. And it was very interesting because we were having this conversation. This was just after Trudeau, of course, went to Mar-a-Lago. And when my father-in-law was kind of joking around, but maybe halfway serious, saying, oh, well, if Canada wants to join the United States of America, Trudeau could call himself the governor of that state.
I loved it.
Well, I was asking them about it. I was like, what's the vibe there? How is this feeling there? And my cousin's husband said to me, he said, everything that happens in America eventually happens in Canada. We're just several years later. Like, we're a little late to the party. And so we were talking about what you just said, which is that, we've had this huge shift in the United States, and people have finally been awakened, and they finally realized that what the Democrats and, the Liberal Party in our country have done has been incredibly detrimental to everyday life for people in the United States. And in the same way, he said, I bet it's going to happen in Canada. A lot of my friends who, 2016 were not too hot on Donald Trump are all in for Trump. They're so jazzed he won this election, and they're hoping they see this now. Stephanie, my question for you is, do you think that Donald Trump's kind of jabs at Trudeau and the general nature of things going on in Canada had anything to do with the announcement of Trudeau's resignation?
100%. That was like the first thing I thought when I heard his resignation. I was like, this is the full-blown Trump effect. Yeah. I mean, President-elect already has had huge influence on what's going on in this country. And you've seen even world leaders coming to Trump as if he is the person in charge right now. So I would imagine that Canadians on the streets today are like the characters from The Wiz doing the dance, like, can you feel it? Brand new day. Trudeau has been just so out of touch with the average Canadian and the priorities that he has, similar to some of the Democrats here in this country, were just completely out of touch with what people cared about. I mean, people were worried about getting food on the table, working, the farmers, and also just their rights being taken away before their eyes. I mean, it was jaw-dropping and just so discouraging to see how Canadians were even treated during COVID and everything that was going on there. And as you pointed out, Laura, Canada is just like, a few years ahead of how the Democrats treat us. So it is really concerning what had been happening there over the years. And I will say I was super surprised to even see that he made it through his last election. I mean, keep in mind, this is the clown who had been seen in full blackface, brown face. I don't remember if you remember those images of him in the blue.
I remember.
Yeah, he went like brown, black legs in his cutoff blue jeans. I mean, this guy was totally not fit to serve. And, he hung on the coattails of his family to get to where he's at. And also, he's part of that Obama legacy. So I feel like the page is being turned, and I couldn't be happier to see it.
And we love using that phrase, turn the page, because wasn't that used by the Democrats? Wasn't that used by the Harris Waltz campaign? Wasn't it Tim Walz's wife who was out there saying, turn the page? I've heard people say that multiple times. I'm going to continue to use it because it was outrageous that they were even considering that we were turning the page. But what you're saying about everyday life, I think, is so spot on, Stephanie. It turns out that at the end of the day, those are the things that actually move people. When you have a less, you have a poorer quality of life now than you did previously, you're going to look to your leadership and say, wait a minute, what is it that you've done that has caused my life to end up worse? And whenever it's not just one person, but the majority of people in a country who feel that way, then that is when a big shift happens. And it happened here. It happened in the United States. We have Donald Trump, thank God, as our president-elect, and we're now just days away from seeing him inaugurated, of course. One of the things that I think drove people to go vote for Donald Trump, Chrissy, in this election was their safety and security. If you think back to Donald Trump during his first term in office, remember everybody was very worked up about ISIS. ISIS was a huge deal. It's one of those things people said, we're just going to have to deal with ISIS. This is a terrorist group that is never going away, and we're just going to have to figure it out. And my father-in-law famously tells this story about taking office in 2017 and going to the top brass of the military and saying, okay, give me the download on what's going on here. Why can't we get rid of ISIS? Why is it taking so long to deal with these people? And they said, listen, sir, we have a plan to eliminate ISIS, but every time we get this intelligence on where these people are, we have to call back to the United States. They have to then call the White House, wake up the president if it's the middle of the night, get the order to go ahead, and then it goes back through the chain. And by the time we get the okay to do anything, these people have already moved from whatever little hole they're in or cave or whatever it is where these people are hiding out. And they said, that's the problem. And so Donald Trump said, okay, I got it. Do me a favor. You guys are the military experts. So why don't you just do whatever it is you guys need to do to eliminate ISIS as it exists? And they said, okay, well, it could be several years. We're not sure. 4 weeks, Chrissy, it took to eliminate ISIS, a terrorist group, completely, basically off the face of the earth. Now, of course, there were a couple of holdouts here and there that he didn't get, but the group as a whole was gone and we weren't talking about it. Now we had this guy in New Orleans who, of course, in the wee hours of the first day of the year, January 1st, 2025, drove through, killed 15 people, an absolutely horrific act. And this guy was inspired by and calls himself a member of ISIS. So this is one of the things that people have been consistently worried about here in America. When you have an open border, when you leave Afghanistan and leave a vacuum in the Middle East for these terror cells to breed and just kind of get out of control, here we are right now today where you have 15 people, 15 Americans now dead because a terrorist attack was carried out on American soil. Yes, I get that the guy who did it was an American citizen, but it doesn't matter. To me, this is indicative of the failure of the Biden administration as a whole to close our border, to make sure that we're safe on that front, and to stop this sort of thing from happening and taking root out there. Donald Trump had eliminated them. The fact that this guy was an ISIS sympathizer and considered himself a member of ISIS, I find highly concerning. And I've been concerned, I don't know how you feel, Chrissy, that this was going to happen for a long time, and there are probably a lot more of these people out there ready to attack Americans.
This is the result of empathetic leadership, right? We're not voting someone in to be the nicest individual. We're voting somebody in to be a powerful, strong leader. And that's what Joe Biden was, not a strong leader, but an empathetic, quote unquote, leader. And what that did was you had our federal tax dollars going and not just funding, U.S. intelligence and U.S. operations overseas, but NGOs, non-governmental organizations that were operating and funneling money to terrorist organizations that then went and provoked people like this man who carried out a terror attack on American soil. So I just think that there's so many prongs to this. And if we would just stop spending money out of the kindness of our heart, but instead on saving and preserving American life, we would be in a much better position. But the federal government currently is not interested in doing that. And I really hope that it's contingent on Republicans and Democrats, of course, but there are Republicans out there that we need to really be hard on to get this spending to stop. I'm sick of funding both sides of the war on either side. We've got to end this.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things I found really shocking, Stephanie, is that, I turned the TV on in the morning on January 1st to initially hear about this, like I guess a lot of people did. And I remember watching the two women. One of them was a representative from the FBI who they proceeded to give a press conference on the situation. And it was in that moment that this FBI representative would not call this a terrorist event. And by the way, I'm just gonna read an X post by Dinesh D'Souza because I feel it summed up exactly what a lot of us were thinking. Dinesh D'Souza said, this FBI agent, and he put that in air quotes, who struggles to get out basic sentences is trying to tell the media that a terrorist with an ISIS flag who drove through a crowd of Americans is not a terrorist. This is the world we're living in. And it's amazing because photos then surfaced later, Stephanie, of the FBI with that ISIS flag on the ground, photographing it, that I think they had taken before this press conference took place. So I don't know what kind of nonsense these people are trying to spew out there, but you got an ISIS flag, you got a guy who drove through a crowd of Americans and killed a bunch of people, injured many more, and they were not willing to call it a terrorist attack. What do you make of that, Stephanie? What's that all about?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that the photos of the ISIS flag were already like circulating on social media.
Maybe so, yeah.
And then Agent Nosering comes out and wants to assure us that it's definitely not terrorism, which I find rather bizarre because usually law enforcement agencies and the FBI, they take their time before they speak out on these types
They should at least.
acts of terrorism and crime incidents. And so instead of just giving the American people, hey, you know what, we're investigating. We don't know exactly what the cause of this was, but we're looking into every possibility. And when we know, we'll let you know. But if you have any information, please let us know. No, she just had to shut it down immediately. No terrorism, nothing to see here. And again, this just goes to show why Americans don't trust the FBI. I mean, they're quick to straight-face lie to the American people. And, if everything is true, the fact that, they were taking photos of this ISIS flag, they knew there was more there and didn't want to reveal that to the American people. And at the time, we didn't know if there was a bigger threat to the people of New Orleans or to American citizens. So the fact that they would just completely disregard the other potential threats that could have come along with that is dangerous for Americans. And that's why people are up in arms. And also, by the way, last time I checked, it was improper protocol for FBI agents to be wearing nose rings. So people want to know why she gets a pass on that. And also news organizations had reached out to the FBI to see if she was going to be disciplined or fired potentially for the misleading information on that press conference. And the FBI has yet to get back to any news organization that had reached out for further information.
MyPillow is excited to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Their famous My Slippers, these haven't been on sale for over a year and are regularly priced at $119.98, but for a limited time are now only $59.98. And their 6-pack towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list, from bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-624-3945 and be sure to use promo code TRUMP to save on all MyPillow products. That's promo code TRUMP. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to a change in leadership at the top of the FBI. I, for one, am. I think a lot of people probably are. Their job, Chrissy, is to give us information. You are supposed to be out there to protect Americans, to protect the citizens of this country. And as a law enforcement organization, you got to keep us safe and you got to be honest with us. You have to tell us what we need to know to stay safe. They didn't know at this time if there were more people out there who were involved. They didn't know at that point. I don't think that this guy was a lone actor, that he did this all on his own. I find it so frustrating. Slightly more frustrating, though, are these losers over at MSNBC. Shocked they still have jobs over there. I don't know who's watching their shows, but okay. Lawrence O'Donnell couldn't help himself, and he blamed this not on some guy who obviously has been radicalized, and I have no idea what the story is, but because this guy is a former member of the U.S. Armed Forces. Here's his statement. Ready? It's very clear from the evidence that if you want to worry about terrorism in this country, the United States Army is a much bigger problem. What is wrong with these people? Are you kidding me? Wow.
I don't know what possesses you to think that that was an intellectual thing to say. Yeah. Even if he feels that way, let's be honest, he probably does believe that. It's still the dumbest thing you could possibly say on live TV. I have no idea, again, what would possess you to say that. But I guess that's just the festering hatred of this country that's coming up and coming out on air from Lawrence O'Donnell. Also, that is not the biggest problem in this country. I think he was trying to compare terrorism that is taking place by very well-trained operatives versus some of the more vigilante terrorism that we see coming from illegal immigrants. Those are not the same things. And maybe this is bold to say, and I really don't care. I'm going to take a risk on American citizens committing crime in this country as opposed to unnecessary crime that comes in here illegally. Do that. That's not the same thing.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's all bad. Look, it's all bad, but needing to compare stuff like to do, it's just, these people are gross. Talk about not trusting organizations. Nobody trusts the FBI anymore. Certainly no one trusts the mainstream media. I mean, these people, they lost it a long time ago. One of the things we also found out over the course of the past several days is that Donald Trump's sham show trial via Alvin Bragg in downtown Manhattan, Judge Juan Merchan has decided, Stephanie, that January 10th is the appropriate date to sentence Donald Trump. Now, he'll be sentenced to no time served. He's not going to serve any time. They were very clear about that. But the idea that they are going to do this and formally sentence him with, of course, no repercussions here. First of all, to me, it just goes to show like this has all been just crap from the beginning. You guys knew it. You did it for politics. You wanted to, during the course of an election, use the term convicted felon against someone, thinking that would sway the American people. They wholly rejected that, obviously, because Donald Trump will be the 47th president. Now the play, Stephanie, is to make sure that the day that Donald Trump is sworn into office, January 20th, they'll be able to say that he is officially a convicted felon. He's been sentenced. The whole thing is done and wrapped up. It's just such a shame because this whole thing was unnecessary, and I think it's so damaging to this country.
Yeah, the witch hunt continues. Yeah. And it just goes to show what type of judge he is, which is very corrupt, very partisan. And, it's sad. I mean, he's not listening to the American people and obviously didn't keep a watch on what has been happening, which is every time that they use this legal warfare against Donald Trump, it actually boosts support for Trump. Because people are so tired and sick of seeing what they've done to Donald Trump and know that could be done and used against other people in this country. So, it is totally astounding. And you have to remember, his daughter, Merchan's daughter, works for these like progressive political groups, taking in millions of dollars. And that's not just like right-wing news organizations that are writing about this. I mean, the New York Times has written about it and another liberal news organization. So I'd like to see more information on that come out and see why he didn't recuse himself from this case in the first place. But yeah, it's a complete and total sham, and I hate to see it. And this is just to give the left extra talking points against Trump, to give the talking heads on the mainstream media who hate Trump something to talk about.
It's, Chrissy, the whole rationale behind all of this, these are the same people who love to say that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. This is the actual threat to democracy. This is the threat to our country. This sort of behavior, these actions, this guy's a state judge who's going to sentence the next president of the United States 10 days before he takes office. This kind of thing happens in banana republics. The whole trial itself. And now, here at the very end, they just can't help themselves. I can tell you that the legal team my father-in-law has will be appealing this. Obviously, they can't do it before he's going to be sworn into office. But this is outrageous behavior. And it's going to take a bigger person to stop this. These people really, their hatred for Donald Trump is so deep. They don't really care how damaging it is to the country. This is very damaging. But I'm going to say that Donald Trump himself will be the one to stop this stuff, because people say, oh, he's going to come in, he'll be a dictator day one, he's going to get retribution and revenge. No. He understands how important America is. He understands why you can't do these things. And I believe Donald Trump will be the person to stop it. But the reality is, these are the people, the Democrats, these activist judges and DAs out there and AGs across the country who've been salivating at trying to do anything they can to damage Donald Trump. Those are the actual threats to democracy.
Yeah, and sometimes when the irrational is happening, it's important to look at what else is going on to distract you. Note that TikTok is set to be banned potentially on January 10th. That is going to be a big argument day at the Supreme Court as well. And of course, that is a horrible look for Democrats among the generation of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and now incoming Gen Beta, which, I mean, they're infants now. But, over the course of the years, this is going to set the course of how Democrats are perceived among the youth. And it would be very important that we be distracted on that day.
Oh, that's a very interesting point. I did not know that, but you're exactly. Well, they always do that. There's always some jazz hands technique that they like to use. Oh, look, with Hunter Biden, he's all set. Don't worry, we sentenced him. Oh, there's something else going on. It's all garbage. It's all nonsense. Something else that I think the Democrats have basically destroyed. We'll give a shout out to Joe Biden on this. The Presidential Medal of Freedom. Obviously, last week there was this ceremony. And typically, this is the highest civilian award you can receive. And yet the people who received this award, Stephanie, via Joe Biden, the likes of George Soros, talk about damaging to this country. I mean, this guy has funded the campaigns of Alvin Bragg, of George Gascon, of the people who have single-handedly been so destructive to America, to our actual freedoms. And yet it is called the Medal of Freedom. The irony is just, it's too much to take almost, Stephanie. What did you think of that whole ceremony?
Yeah, my reaction to all of the people receiving the highest award was like, what, really? No. Really? No. Really? No. I mean, yeah, George Soros, out of all people, as you pointed out, this is a billionaire, which is interesting because Democrats usually hate billionaires, left hates billionaires and rich people, except for George Soros because he funds all of their projects.
Right.
But George Soros had funneled hundreds of millions of dollars into left-wing priorities, including these very leftist activist DAs who've been destroying cities across the country with their lax policies on bail reform and, turning a blind eye to crime, if you will. And also he spent hundreds of millions of dollars on these racial equity groups, which on its face sounds good. We're for racial equity. But really, these groups were just dividing the country. And if you think about like Black Lives Matter and all of these other groups and the chaos that they've caused, again, and destruction in cities across the country, again, it's just totally irresponsible. I can believe that Biden handed out the highest awards to these people, including Hillary Clinton, by the way, who, if you could never forget her reaction and her response to Benghazi, her handling of it when she was Secretary of State. The fact that she called, half this country deplorables, basket of deplorables. And also just, I mean, the list is so long, right? I mean, she wanted to jail Americans for misinformation, which is code for information we don't like that hurts the Democratic Party on social media. So, I mean, yeah, it was just such a disaster. I'm not sure if it was Joe Biden who made the selection or if it's the people behind him, but clearly they have 0 Fs to give on their way out. Totally checked out. You're just pushing everything through, and it is a shame to see it.
Yeah, like they're trying to just burn the place down while on the way out. Clearly, these are the people who have funded and propped up the Democrats. Most of the people who received them. Now there were people, Bill Nye, the science guy. Big fan of Bill Nye. You had Jane Goodall, with all the research on the apes and the monkeys. Magic Johnson. I got no beef with Magic Johnson. Anna Wintour. I don't know. That's kind of borderline for me. One who was also there, of course, was Hunter Biden. Thought that was very interesting. People were very up in arms about that one. But let me just read very quickly, Chrissy, and I'll get your response to this. The statement from the White House on these awards. In a statement, the White House said the recipients are, quote, individuals who have made exemplary contributions to the prosperity, values, or security of the United States, world peace, or other significant societal, public, or private endeavors. Are you kidding me with this one? This whole thing is nuts. And it's definitely the people in the Democrat Party who said, you know what? But on our way out, we got to get something to old George Soros. How this guy's still hanging on is beyond me. So let's give some to Hillary, a consolation prize, and let's get George Soros involved as well. They have basically just absolutely destroyed anything that this Medal of Freedom meant prior to this. It's all kind of done now.
Well, it's all seen through a very politicized lens, which is ironic because when Joe Biden ran, he ran as a unifying president, one that was going to, do things on a bipartisan level. And something as simple as this is such a home run to give these medals, give these awards to people who are deserving of it. In both sides or from both sides of the aisle. You could look at it from someone on the right and the left and see, that's someone like Magic Johnson, someone that would, deserve it in the eyes of somebody, no matter their political stripes. That is what he campaigned on. And I think it's just kind of like a relief for all of us to feel like, wow, okay, at the end of it, the sham has finally come to an end. We saw that he's aging from the beginning and we were lied to and gaslit that wasn't real. Okay, check, true. He's never a unifying president. Check. True. He's just really empathetic and he's going to be self-serving no matter what. Check. True. Like we have been right the whole time. And for that to come in the final weeks, at least there's no sham anymore. We can really see through everything that we knew all along.
They don't even care anymore. They're just like, yeah, this is what we're doing. And so what? It's like, they've been caught red-handed too many times. Yep. They're just not even trying to hide it anymore. Do you guys remember Kamala's big surrogates? Remember all the celebrities who came out for Kamala Harris? By the way, I hope we're done with that. I hope
Did you see Nikki Glazer's roast yesterday? Or the other day?
Well,
yes. So
fill
funny.
us in. What'd she have to say?
Nikki Glazer got up there and she said, you guys are all so powerful. This was at the Golden Globes talking to all these celebrities. You're so powerful and influential, except when it comes to electing people, because you can't seem to do that. It was
because people are just done with it. It's just we are not that dumb. We don't need you to tell us for whom to vote. We're going to make our decision on our own. And actually, I kind of feel like it's continued to backfire on them. Just like the lawfare and all the other stuff, the American people were like, really? We're supposed to listen to these people who live a life that absolutely has nothing in common with what we're doing. And just to remind the American people how out of touch they really are with all of us, here's what the folks who were some of the top surrogates for the Kamala Harris campaign have been up to. Jessica Alba was one of them. She was recently seen in a string bikini on a beach in Mexico. Kerry Washington, seen on red carpets to promote her latest movie and received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Congratulations to Kerry Washington. Robert De Niro, recently spotted dining at a very fancy restaurant in Santa Monica with Leonardo DiCaprio. And Christmas Eve, Leonardo DiCaprio was at Chateau Marmont. I've never been there. Maybe I'll go there one day. I don't know. J-Lo modeling a $3,000 plus dress on Instagram. These are the people that we're supposed to get real jazzed about, guys. This was supposed to hype us up, and we were supposed to be like, yeah, let's go out and vote for a person who has no business being president of the United States. Stephanie, I wonder why it didn't work.
Yeah, these celebrities are acting like, they didn't throw all their weight behind Harris, despite her lack of qualifications to run this country. And it is really funny. I actually do follow J-Lo on Instagram. And it's like she never talked about it again and just posts all these really glamorous photos
They
of
hope
her
we
very
forget.
lavish lifestyle. Of course, no word about P. Diddy either, even though she dated him for a few years during those prime years that people have questions about. But yeah, I mean, as Chrissy pointed out, I did watch the Golden Globes as well. I wasted 3 hours of my life. It's so painful, but I do it for the Media Research Center. I covered it for them. And it was hilarious to see the host of that show, the comedian, roast celebrities over their lack of influence. So I'm wondering if that's going to maybe actually change things going forward. Because again, American people are so tired of these people who live behind gates, who are super multimillionaires, rich and famous, telling them how to vote when they don't understand what the average person is going through. So I'm not surprised to see all these celebrities just kind of going out about their day. I think another funny reaction was from Rosie O'Donnell. I will say that she's been having these like meltdowns over the past few months on Twitter, something about like getting cold sores because she's trying to blame Trump supporters for getting cold sores or something. You have to look into it, but it's pretty wild how the reactions.
She might want to see a doctor. I don't know much about that, but okay.
But it's always Trump supporters' fault. It's not her own fault.
It's our fault.
Trump supporters.
We did it. I just love these people who are like, ooh, I hope nobody noticed that I was out there. I'll just be on a beach in Mexico if you need me. Like, it's really incredible to see. I'm going to predict, though, Chrissy, this is it. Like, I hope after this election, people understand that at least the folks who are in charge of campaigns start to get that we think it's really gross when you do this. I think people are kind of insulted at this point whenever they trot out a celebrity and then you find out how much money they paid for these people to show up on a stage with Kamala Harris or whatever. I hope we're done with that. I hope we can actually get candidates who can just talk about the things that matter to the American people and tell me how you're going to make my life better, how you're going to make the life of my kids better one day. All of those things are what Americans actually care about. All the celebrity endorsements and all that stuff. You could kind of feel it even in 2016 during that election, sort of on the way out. I think we're done now. I hope it's over. What do you think?
I don't think we're going to see as many celebrity endorsements, but I do think that people who have large platforms always think that they're entitled to come into these elections. And so I think we're seeing a shift away from celebrity and a shift into influencers. And I think that is going to be very important in the 2024 election and even in the midterms or 2024. Oh my gosh, I'm so out of it. 2028 election. Yeah. That's going to be a huge shift more from celebrity to influencers. And you're going to see large platforms across the board, specifically on the left, more I wouldn't call them super influential, but like the Harry Sisson style people, they're going to grow in popularity as Gen Z and Gen Alpha kind of grow up and are continuing to watch more on their phone and less on a large screen.
I will say that it is nice to have celebrities and rich and powerful people on your side, smart people. Yeah. But the problem with Hollywood is that it wasn't coming from a sincere place. And it's because, anyone who came out and supported conservatives for any reason were canceled. So people could feel the dishonesty from these celebrities when they're telling them what to think and not to believe their own lying eyes, and that the economy is the greatest economy under Joe Biden, yet you can't afford life. And so that's my problem with it. I guess I don't have a problem with celebrities using their platform to talk to people about their concerns and people they support. But if it's coming from a dishonest place, that's my issue.
But that's the
right.
thing.
That's why I think those influencers are going to have more impact in the long run, is because unfortunately or fortunately, those are their genuinely held opinions, as opposed to what you're seeing in Hollywood. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. And that's all people want. They want authenticity. They don't want fake. They don't want phony. It's one of the reasons I think they rejected Kamala Harris. So, obviously they just said, absolutely not. We want nothing to do with this. Because it all felt phony, it all felt fake, and it all felt manufactured. The hype around Kamala Harris was so manufactured. The excitement, all of it. Nobody was that into her, and they wanted us to think that they were, and it didn't work. You can't do that. People are really in tune with what's real and what's not real. And speaking of not real, just to close this out today, the AI stuff it stresses me out. I'll be really honest. I have a lot of issues with it. I don't like the fact that you can go on ChatGPT and it can write you a poem or a paper or whatever it is. There's like no original thought anymore. Nobody wants to do the work for anything. And apparently now Mark Zuckerberg is saying that on Facebook, if you're still on Facebook, guess what? You're going to have an AI friend soon. Mark Zuckerberg's Meta is betting heavily on AI to drive user engagement on its social media platforms in the coming years. The company envisions human users engaging and sharing content with AI just like they do with friends and family on Facebook and Instagram. I gotta tell you something. This one's a bridge too far for me. So you're telling me that we're gonna be online and some of the people who are gonna be like commenting on our stuff are it's AI. It's fake. I mean, Chrissy, what? I can't do it. It's not for me. Please don't give me an AI friend.
I'm so 100% on board with you, Lara. Simultaneously, TikTok is Instagram's main competitor right now, and this is happening across the board, not only on Facebook, but on Instagram as well. And TikTok, you can continue to scroll because the algorithm is set up to feed you consistently new stuff, whereas Instagram follows you or is put together on more of a following basis, and their algorithm is not set up to do that. This is in design set up to keep people scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. We just went through the whole social dilemma of getting kids off of Instagram, setting age limits and restrictions. This is designed to keep people on the platform in the creepiest way possible.
Oh, I hate it all. It's just, I work so hard, Stephanie, to keep my kids. They're 5 and 7, so they don't have their own anything and they won't for a long time. But, it's so hard as it is to keep kids away from these screens. I go to a restaurant with my kids. They don't get a phone. They don't get anything. They got to sit there and they got to talk to me and look at me. Sorry, kids. But then I look around and every other table, it seems like the kids have something in front of them. This is the sort of thing that just, it sucks people in. And I kind of feel like, it's what we were talking about earlier with like jazz hands and distraction. What is this? Why are we so obsessed with this stuff? And are we being distracted from something else that's going on? I don't like any of it, Stephanie.
My first reaction to everything you just said is that your kids must be incredibly well behaved if you can go to a restaurant not give them an iPad. I will say before I had kids, I have a 19-month-old and a baby in the womb. I'm due in 10 weeks. It's a little girl. Her name's Maya. And before I had kids, I was like, never would I ever do screen time. Never. We're not going to watch cartoons. We're not going to do anything. But sometimes desperate times call for
do it. Yeah.
And I will say my toddler is like completely unhinged when we go to nice restaurants now. And we go to places that people usually don't take kids. So I will do anything to get him to settle down so he doesn't ruin everyone's meal in the restaurant. With that said, back to the AI stuff. It is a little creepy. It seems like I haven't done my full research on this, but my assumption is that Facebook is not doing well. And I did notice over the years that Facebook had been throttled, maybe specifically for people working in news because they wanted to eliminate that from people's feeds. So the engagement's kind of low. So it's like you're not really inspired to get back on there when people aren't engaging with you. So that would be maybe a reason to have AI engage with people to bring them back, because it's a feel good when you get the likes and the comments and people reacting to your content. Because if you don't have anything there, why would you keep posting? It wouldn't be a priority. But yeah, AI, a lot of issues with it. I mean, I think there are some interesting aspects of it that are going to advance and move our country and world forward, but there's definitely some serious areas of concern when it comes to AI. I mean, we could spend hours talking about that.
Totally. No, it seems like a Pandora's box that I'm just like terrified. We've opened it and now I don't know where it goes, but I feel like we'll look back on this time and be like, gosh, remember before AI, like remember the good old days, and like these are the days now. So everybody take a look around. I don't know what's about to happen. You're right, Stephanie. Some things I think are going to be incredible. I think we're going to have some medical breakthroughs, and I don't know what else we could see, but things that could be really powerful and good. But you got to look at the other side of it too, and I don't even know what the other side of it is because it's so frightening. All right. Well, ladies, thanks for spending some time with us here today. Chrissy and Stephanie, appreciate you both. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.